The Environmental Gardeners, written by N.R. Baldwin, narrated by Frank Meaden. Chapter 1. Leeds, 2020. Brett Martin's phone died a couple of hours into the evening's meeting. Leaning against the pub wall as he enjoyed a cigarette, he contemplated walking home. Could his bladder stand it? Sure, he'd had a few beers, although he was nowhere near drunk. Indeed, he felt quite good, considering. Maybe he'd get mugged, or worse. Nah, he could look after himself. We're gang downtown, mate. You fancy coming? The landlord was around 45 years old, and obviously enjoying a second burst of immaturity. His shaven-headed bulk staggered into Brett, and a muscular arm was slopped around his shoulder. Come on, Brett, we can get bladdered and have a laugh. We've got some Colombian marching powder to keep us going and all. Cheers, and thanks for letting me use your bar tonight. Despite your tantalizing offer, I'm going to stay behind and help clear up and stuff. But I will be up for it over the weekend if you're about, for sure. Brett smiled, wide-eyed into the red, beer-worn face. The last thing he wanted to do was go anywhere with the brutal meatheads from the Shoulder of Mutton. They were already 1 pint from dead. Lord knows what shenanigans they would get up to in town. Added to which it was a Tuesday, and already 23:30. Would anywhere normal be open? Suit yourself, you big mincer. The landlord winked. You've got my vote. You're okay, you lot. Good on you mad bastards. He was referring to Brett's meeting. That night the leader of their small political party had visited Leeds, and Brett had managed to talk the Shoulder of Mutton into hosting his presentation. About 40 people had turned up, most of them middle-aged and quite cultured. Hardly the extreme right-wing thugs the media was constantly accusing them of being. Mind you, Brett thought, the bar was set pretty low for being labelled right-wing in the UK at the moment. If one misgendered next door's cat, then you might as well go around dressed as Goebbels, let alone dare to object to open borders. Pushing through the double doors, Brett tried to eye up a potential lift downtown from one of the few punters left. John Field, their great leader, had gone. Brett had been unimpressed with him, but Field's party was the only show in town if one believed in free speech and democracy. Despite being a new political entity with just a few burgeoning spouts of support in working-class areas, they had decided to contest half a dozen council seats in Leeds. Chances of any of them getting elected were minimal, but the Lions Albion movement needed the publicity and probably a new name that made more sense as well, Brett reasoned. They sounded more like a football team. Perhaps he was missing something, and that was the whole point. Brett sipped what was left of his beer and contemplated having one for the road. He shuddered slightly. The last few days had been an uncomfortable mix of sleep, anxiety, and a strong but incomprehensible feeling of dread. Brett was always careful to keep an eye on his mental health. He had witnessed too many war veterans sink into depression or alcohol dependency. It wasn't that he was worried about anything in particular. It was more of an irrational certainty that he was heading towards some kind of catastrophe. Maybe an illness or an expected event beyond his control. He couldn't place his mood. Perhaps he needed a holiday or a change of pace. Could it be he was just getting older and was staring at a future less defined? No, this was something different and intangible. He had spent most of the day canvassing in the local area. People were friendly and polite, but few had heard of the Lions or had any idea of what they represented. Brett didn't mind as any political party that went against the narrative of globalization and open borders were fair game for the unashamed pro-EU media or the screaming activists of the left. It was good to do some doorstepping and put the record straight. If people wanted
Sample complete. Ready to continue?